podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network, kingofpodcasts.com.
The having a boyfriend embarrassing debate continues.
We're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the King of Podcasts.
Following up on last week's episode where we talked about the article from British Vogue, is having a boyfriend embarrassing? We're going to continue on that tonight and get where there's been a lot of feedback on the subject here on Depraved and Debaucherous. We're going to go into all that tonight. But first of all, we have to go into a story that happened back in 2023. And, I didn't know we were going to get back to this again, but it's deserving to go back to one more time because of what happened. And I'm talking about the young lady that we knew. Well, I'll let this story go ahead and explain it for us.
A woman who raised over $40,000 on GoFundMe is now being charged with theft by deception.
What have I ever done to anybody in my life to deserve this?
Rhoda Osmond told cops that she was hit in the face with a brick outside a Houston club after she refused to give out her phone number. But footage capturing the incident does not support Rhoda's report, according to charging documents. And cops say a similar GoFundMe was created in 2020 where she claimed to be assaulted with no reports on record. GoFundMe told an NBC affiliate that the fundraiser has been removed from their platform and Rhoda has been banned from creating future fundraisers.
Yes. The name Rhoda Osmond. 90 days in jail. Treatment, $42,000 restitution, 10 years probation, a 10-year social media ban. And if she violates that social media ban in whatever way, shape, or form, 10 years in prison. Couldn't have happened to a better person. This was important. And also, full restitution of the exact amount was $42,302 that she took from a GoFundMe account. Now I want to go back and talk about what I talked about. This is going back to September 6, 2023. Now, the name we heard her known as was Ro Bash or Ro_reports on TikTok. And the girl is based in Houston, reportedly hit with a brick after rejecting a guy, giving off a lot of mixed signals of her identity. And was it all just for attention? So here's what I said back just about 2 years ago. And so you have all this here. I'm not sure what to think of this young lady because there's obviously two sides that everybody's trying to put these two different areas. But it doesn't make sense for the fact that she has all these credentials and she's working to make a career for herself. But then there's this other side of her that twerks after she slaps a guy in the face. And she does that as a bit of a trend. And she also doesn't have any issues bashing men because she hates men for the most part. They're not protectors, not providers, and that women are better off protecting and providing for themselves. That's fine. Can we just say the real part out loud? Well, everything that I thought, my suspicions were true. And can we also remember what the women that were out there defending Rhoda Osmond were saying back in those days? By the way, if you want to get a little idea of who she was, let's play back a little bit of what she was, her take back then.
Y'all, this is the first time I've even acknowledged this unhinged woman, the queen of accountability. The queen of delusion. She calls herself a life coach with no emotional intelligence. And she's a fake lawyer too, because apparently she's suing me. And she's a fake police officer because apparently she has an investigation on me. And apparently she's a fake judge because she's about to put a felony on me. A fake prosecutor because she's about to put a felony on me too. This can just...
Well, it's already done anyway. Now let's go into the women that also decided to go and defend this young lady after all that happened. Because there's a lot more to this. And I'm going to go play back what some of these women were saying, defending her blindly. And unfortunately now, it's unfortunate that they thought that she was correct and they believed in her. But here's what some of those women that defended her said at the time.
So let me get this straight. A black woman gets hit in the face with a brick for rejecting a man, while a bunch of other men are standing around watching. And y'all are trying to villainize her. What's crazy is that the men are too scared to step in for a woman in a scenario like this, right? Because the men are just as afraid of men as women are. The gag is a man who will enact this kind of violence upon a woman is normally too much of a bitch to do the same thing to a man.
I've been trying to calm my nervous system down to talk about this black woman getting hit with a brick in front of a whole bunch of black men who did nothing to help protect her. Men were like, it's not our job to protect black women, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to do that. It's time for y'all to admit that men fucking scare you.
Well, that all went back and went the wrong way. So the story goes on. We're going to talk about this real quick and just make a point that tonight's program is being in tribute to Rhoda Osman, who is truly depraved and debaucherous. And that's why we talked about her on this program. So I'm taking a story from the root. And let's bring up where it goes on here. When she put out her Help Rhoda Recover, the fundraiser, got her $42,000. Now she's ordered to pay it all back after she's found guilty of theft by deception. January 2024, Osman was charged with a felony for securing thousands, where she spent trips on Jamaica and New York, restaurants and spas. And she'd already been part of a GoFundMe scam back in 2020 for an alleged assault that police said was never reported from the platform and refunded the donors. And there we go. Done. And she is no longer a factor. But I thought it would be important. I brought this story up a little over 2 years ago. So we need to go and make point that there's closure to that. Wipe our hands of it. There we go. Done. Now back to the story about it. Is having a boyfriend embarrassing now? A lot of discussion about this. And I want to get into a couple of stories that have focused on the feedback that is going on social media about this, because it's been flooding my TikTok For You page a lot. Inside Hook takes in real quick about women think that having a boyfriend is embarrassing now, and they may be just onto something. So this is roughly a week and a half later that Inside Hook gets into this. And to refresh listeners here, she admits to herself that she mutes or unfollows women if their social media feeds start with "becoming my boyfriend" divide. Throughout her article, explaining there's a clear shift in how people are sharing their relationships online, and for several different reasons. And many related posts have been going viral as a result of this article. It's great that the debate's out there, the conversation's out there, because I still take from what was being said what was being written in the article, is that women are very vindictive on other women that have boyfriends. And they're the ones that are calling the women with those boyfriends embarrassing. And the women who have those boyfriends are having to go ahead and deal with the judgment of, is it true that their boyfriend is embarrassing, or are they just being manipulated to think so? So women can relate to this. So let's get some of the comments that have been out there on TikTok. Here's one that went out there a lot, and I don't agree with her, but we're going to play her back just to see what she said was all about this.
I'm at home and I just got done reading Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing? And as a single woman living alone in her 30s, I have thoughts. First of all, I felt like for a long time when I would be in social settings and I would say like, yeah, I'm 33 and I'm single, I would always get these like sad puppy eyes, like poor her, she doesn't have a boyfriend. So I'm so excited that society is finally switching the narrative. And the reason why I'm so excited is not because I think having a boyfriend is embarrassing. I don't think that at all. In fact, I think in a world filled with hate, seeing love is actually refreshing and a beautiful thing every once in a while. But I think it's so exciting because women are finally waking up to the idea that having a boyfriend is basically the least interesting thing about you. Someone who is a great example of this statement is actually Aaliyah's face. That girl has a boyfriend and you will never know. In fact, sometimes I freaking forget because homegirl has so many things going on that her boyfriend is like the least important thing about her, the least interesting thing about her. She is going to Pilates, she's practicing her Spanish, she's running marathons, she's hanging out with her friends, she's taking solo dates, she's traveling somewhere. That girl has so much going on that her boyfriend is not a pedestal, and therefore it's not embarrassing for her to have a boyfriend.
But the thing is, it's not even a boyfriend. Let's just make that clear. What she's thinking right there about that particular creator is, I mean, he's not even around when she's out jet setting and doing other things and living her life. Yeah, there's not much of a boyfriend there. It could be a situationship, It could be that he doesn't know what's going on, but he could be cheated on anyway if that's the case. No, that's not a boyfriend. And for her to go and, make the point of, oh, so the guy's not a priority. Well, for some women it might be. But there is something to be said about a woman that does have a boyfriend and has a life besides the boyfriend. And I think there's something to be said about that too, where there are some women that, they have such a void and such a loneliness that they have, and maybe they don't have as many friends, or they don't want to be caught up in the fact that other friends of theirs, as they've grown up, this 33-year-old young lady, very attractive. For her case, there is one thing to be said about who those friends are that gave her the sad puppy dog eyes saying, oh, you don't have a boyfriend, because the other ones might be married or might have their own boyfriends. By their 30s, if they're equally around the same age, yeah, probably half of them probably have boyfriends, long-term relationships, or are married and with children. So for her, she chose not to go that route. That's okay for whatever reason. But it goes back to my original point that I said last week, where I was concerned about women and the fact that they're single. And I think there's something to be looked at about that, and it concerns me. And I don't like the fact that women are being stuck and being made to be single. So I'm going to play back real quick what I said last week about this, because I think it is important to make the distinction about where this all came from. But here's what I said about this last week. Even though I know women are probably not with boyfriends right now, it's like, I don't want single women to not have boyfriends. I don't want, or girlfriends, whatever. I don't want single women to stay single. That's a problem. It's an epidemic. I feel bad for women that are single. I wish they weren't. I wish they could find love. And I wish they weren't hurt or going through the things that being modern and independent come with, that they're done that way because of the fact of what has gone through with them in their time, even trying to be in relationships for whatever reason. What was it that caused them to stay single? Now, there's obviously two sides to each coin. But for me, I'm looking at the perspective of saying that the modern independent woman didn't just become the modern independent woman. There's, of course, the indoctrination, the women that are having either their mothers or their sisters or cousins or whoever from the family, and then their friends that are also influencing them to where they're going to go with their lives. But love, initially, for most of these women, I would think most all women, usually starts with love. Usually starts with possible relationships. Going back to high school, going into college, you would think that thing might possibly happen. But what happens here is that when you start seeing other women that are in relationships, and then you see the break off where other women are together, it's not like every woman is together in a sorority where, like, if you're in a sorority, how often do those sorority sisters have their own significant others or partners? Because they have each other. And that kind of sorority mentality kind of comes into play. Because if those young women want to go and go out, if one of them is going to be taken, then it's like there's the bachelorette party. Who's going? It's very rare if a woman's going to go ahead and go out with the girls, because the boyfriend probably won't want to have that necessarily in some rare occasions. Or if it's like something that's set where she's going out with the girls, he's going out with the guys, if that's already been planned out. I don't know if there's that much of that anyway right now, but the thing is, for women, it's a choice who they want to be with. That's obvious. A woman that's attractive, or just, 95% of women, I would imagine, it would not be hard for them at all to find a date, find a boyfriend, find a girlfriend, whatever. But the thing is that what is it that happened to them? Whether it was some guy who was abusive or narcissistic or manipulative, or was just, lightweight, or he was weak, or he was just no good, just was awkward or embarrassing. And they decided to go and let them go. But after trial and error, I think most all women will be able to go and find a relationship or find love, because it was like that before social media. What changed? Social media caused it. So now we're at this point where social media is the conduit of this whole discussion here, because That's what's causing not just women around their own circles, but women around following them as the influencer they're going to be. They're all piling up and saying, if you are showing off your boyfriend, soft launch, hard launch, if you're just showing him off at random points, yeah, they're saying it's embarrassing. And those women are being affected by it. And women, I would imagine, will be much more vulnerable to the kind of feedback that's on social media. Guys, I don't think would have that so much. But women absolutely are affected by what is being said to them on social media. And it's not just the friend, it's more than just the friends in their circles. Now it's social media that causes it too. Now here's another perspective that came out from TikTok on this ongoing issue about women thinking having a boyfriend is embarrassing.
Several people have asked me for my thoughts on the British Vogue article, Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now by Shantae Joseph. Sorry, my mouth is numb. I had dental surgery this morning, and I did talk about this on this month's ProSos podcast, but I think that this article is dead on and genius, and that's somebody in a committed relationship. And I think that if you have a partner, if you're in a relationship with a man and you found this article insulting, the call is coming from inside the house. I don't think the intention was to tell you not to get into a happy, healthy relationship, but if you feel the need to explain yourself and defend yourself, ask yourself why you're doing that. Because to me, that wasn't the point of the article. The article starts out by discussing how back in the 2010s and even like early 2020s, it was clouded to post your relationship online, and it was seen as like aspirational and aesthetic, and couples content was so viral and so popular and so good, and everybody viewed having a male partner as like an achievement and accomplishment, and it was applauded and it was something to strive for.
But also, it's something that social media at the onset, when people were getting beyond Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. I mean, again, this is well before TikTok. I think TikTok just amplified this even more. But yeah, think about it. If you just had pictures up there and you're seeing women out there with their boyfriends flaunting them and showing off, because with social media, we all kind of learned, hey, if you want to go ahead and, pump your chest and inflate your ego, then you go ahead and show, look who I am. It's show and tell. It's like in elementary school. It's show and tell. And that's what we're doing right now. So for women, like this young lady was saying, yeah, it was the in thing to do. But now we're in fatigue. And of course, the underbelly of social media, of people that can't help but see other people fail, or other people that they need to be miserable like they are. The keyboard warriors are out there. That's the other part that's coming in, and they're starting to get a voice here, and the women need to go and start learning to not pay attention to it.
But the tides have really turned as it relates to online, and people now don't want to see male partners of influencers or of anybody. They don't care about that kind of content. It's not interesting to them, specifically as women have shown up on the internet void of male partners and have been totally interesting, whole, complete, and just fabulous on their own.
But now, one aspect of that is that you've had women that, because of that social media aspect, they've gone to be more modern, independent women, because now you have that platform to show and tell, to show off to all the other girls out there, oh, look how I'm living. But it's also the idea where, okay, all the traumatic issues or whatever kind of things that happened to women that made them find boyfriends that did not work out for whatever reason, toxic relationships, red flags, all of that. Now that you have women able to go on social media and air their dirty laundry because there's no filter to it. And then you have the people out there willing to go ahead and listen in, and, here's a virtual Kleenex from social media to go ahead and say, go girl, so sorry to hear that. Men are bad, men are evil, men are mean, men are pieces of shit, all that. You get that kind of content out there. And then the idea is that social media creates this whole thing of open your eyes. You can be adventurous as much as you want. Okay? And this is all counter to what social media did. Okay? Because think about it like this too. Then we had the part where up until 2019, up until COVID, where everybody was jet setting, adventure, vacations, this and that, go out and do whatever. And women need to go ahead and find a way to go and be able to make their ends meet so they can do those things. Some of them might have gone the sugar daddy route. Some of them might have had boyfriends that they might have gotten money from and things from, and then they would go and convert that and be able to do things with themselves. But then there's also even more where like women were out there showing, hey, I'm able to go ahead and live in this place, work this job, do all these different things. And look at me, I'm pretty, I'm beautiful, and I can do whatever I want. And of course, that's your 20s and 30s. Adventure. And then COVID happened, and then everybody kind of got stuck at home. And now that itching to get out and do everything. So all these vacation plans everybody had, when everything finally opened all back up for everybody, you know, it's completely open now for years, but like all that frustration of being locked down, even for a short while, everybody got out there and said, okay, we're going to just live it up. And so now women on social media have gotten to the point where they don't want to see anybody happy. And again, people on social media, they want to see people fail. They want to see people become miserable. The downfall people, it's not even like where people like see a downfall story and then see the comeback. They don't even want that. They just want to see somebody to go ahead and be dead and gone. You're a dead horse. You're bloodied. Well, we're going to keep shooting your carcass because that doesn't matter. They want to keep seeing you down, pummeled, bloodied, never coming back. That's what they want. Now, there is some men that also talked on here, and one comment from a guy saying this is a wake-up call for men, but we might as well go and play this guy's comments because I got some stuff to say about this.
Vogue just posted an article saying having a boyfriend is embarrassing. I think for men, this is a wake-up call. To the smart, independent woman, good salary, nice place, we provide no benefit. We are no longer the priority. In fact, we're probably a burden to them. We need to realize having a girlfriend is a privilege, and our duty is to raise them up and make them the most successful version of themselves.
Okay. There's a lot to go and say about this, but the thing is that we're not supposed to feel guilty as men, okay? Because those aspiring, modern, independent women that want to be successful, yes, we're no benefit to them. But who says we need to do anything about that? Why is it our priority to go ahead and make ourselves more valuable for them? They don't care anymore. This guy's got it wrong. The girlfriend is a privilege. No, having a boyfriend is a privilege. It's the other way around. I mean, it doesn't matter if a woman wants to go and do what they want. Listen, if a guy wants to be in love, then you go ahead and take the risk of, you know, if you got to find a woman, you hopefully find a woman that's going to be there for love and not for what you have. Not what you have in your wallet, not what you have in your bank account, not what you have in your investments, your portfolio. Okay? And not for what you do for a living. This guy's talking about there's like, guys need to do better. What do we do? Okay? For the guys that do need to be told something, they're the ones that cause these women to become modern, independent women in the first place. Because it's not just, that is a choice. That is a choice to go modern, independent. We don't need a man, fuck him, all this kind of thing. That's the choice of the women. Now, I will say there are probably some men that fuck things up for guys like us. That's what actually happened. So it's not at this point when they've already become modern and independent. That's a lost cause. You're not going to get them. You got to do so much crap now to even go ahead and land a woman like that. You have to be ultra successful. And then what you realize is when you're with a woman that is modern, independent, successful, and has her own money and has her own lifestyle, then you're not going to be with her for anything else because you offer nothing that she wants. But there are still women out there that can show they have something to offer to men instead of only offering what they want for themselves. Because for some modern independent women, that's selfish, but that's okay. They can do that. Maybe they'll go ahead and change their mind and say, you know what? I want love too. Well, then they got to come to a compromise because that lifestyle is only going to last for so long for them unless they want to stay alone. Because how many guys are going to want to go and be involved in that? That's why we're seeing a lot more people be single now than ever. But that's where you have to go and curb this at a younger age. This is why I'm talking about this to younger men on a regular basis. Younger men, younger women. Guys, you have to be smarter to not make mistakes when you first get together with a girl. There's enough information and resources on social media. And I love, people with some wisdom like myself, I think, that can tell you, you got to do right by these girls when you have the chance to hold on to them. before they get indoctrinated into all this shit that's going on right now. It's fine. Women are going to feel like they're going to get what they want regardless of the situation. I would prefer they still be able to go and find love in their lives from some healthy relationship, but that's not possible now. But the healthy relationships have to start at the beginning. You have little room for failure now if you are a teenager or in your 20s and you have a girl that you're getting with and it's one of the first relationships she's got. You have little failure. But that doesn't mean you have to be absolutely perfect either. What you have to do is be transparent, be honest, and be in the relationship for the right reasons. You can't just go into a relationship with a girl now at a younger age and think, oh, there's other girls out there. No. If you're going to choose one, the sea is not that full of women like it once was. Because it's a matter of time before some of those women are going to get caught up and some scumbag's going to go ahead and be like, ruthless to her, sleep with her, not care about her, and move on. Now, those kind of guys are going to be around, okay? The gigolos, the players, they're still going to be out there. But if you find a girl and you have your opportunity, you better hold on to her. Choose wisely and be as honest and as transparent as you can. Don't be a simp, but just be open to the girl. Play the game right, and you'll win. But you're not going to win like this guy is thinking, going after the girls that have already been indoctrinated, okay? That have already been brainwashed. They're already going to go their route. You're not going to change them. Let's get back to this guy.
That might mean doing the laundry and picking up the dishes. It might mean working harder to support them so they can go back to school. It might mean just focusing on ourselves more to be the best versions of ourselves, to inspire them to want to do the same. I think a healthy relationship involves both people raising each other up to be the best versions of themselves and doing whatever they can to support that person to be able to do that.
But that has to be both ways, buddy. The thing is, okay, the part about, carrying your own weight, that should be a given. I mean, guys, how many guys get to go ahead and live that traditional relationship like they're like Archie Bunker and Edith is running around doing all the work around the house, cooking and cleaning and ironing and all that stuff? I don't think many guys are worrying about that too much anymore. Got a lot more guys that are being involved because they have to. Because the relationships have modernized. I would think. Maybe there's still some traditional relationships out there. There's some still trad wives they talk about, right? But I've never seen that. The thing is that what our parents and grandparents had, it's not like it is now. It's all changed. So the thing is that for this guy to go and say we got to raise other women up, well, it's got to be reciprocal. What are they doing to raise us up too? So if we're only going to be concerned about her, well, first of all, her well-being is one thing, her safety, absolutely. But if you're talking about her success, okay, but then what about our success? So we're supposed to go and give all our support over to her and she doesn't give anything back to us? It's not fair. It's not right. That's not a healthy relationship, buddy. I don't think so anyway.
Right now, I don't think men are doing that. I think men don't really provide a benefit. We need to figure out how to provide that benefit so we are no longer embarrassing.
No. But the thing is, this is all bullshit. This guy, you're talking about women that are far gone. You can't work with them. They're not going to be pliable. They're not willing to go ahead and be amenable to what you're saying here. So it's all the guy's fault? No. And the thing is, if guys feel like they need to go and do this, it's a lost cause. So deal with it or get out. But there's no way around that. I mean, if you get yourself locked in with a girl like that, yeah, it's all going to change. You're not going to be able to do much of that at all. And there's more talk about this. Here we go.
According to Vogue, having a boyfriend is embarrassing. And here's my story on why I think this is true. I was in the fitting room at Zara, and this man was being told by his girlfriend, I think you should wear this, you should wear that. He goes, "Can you stop, bitch?" Now, I felt embarrassed for her. I understand everybody's in a relationship for different reasons. There's trauma, there's whatever the fuck, I get that. However, I felt embarrassed for her because that is her partner, that's who she chooses. And what I think Vogue was saying was that, yes, having a boyfriend is embarrassing, if you attach yourself to someone who is pulling you down, who is not good for you. It speaks about you, you know? It's like when somebody shows up to a professional event with a wrinkled ass shirt, unbuttoned and untucked. You're kind of just looking at them like, you know, appearance does mean something. And in this case, having a man that devalues you does mean something. And it's embarrassing. In the most big brother, loving, kind, respectful way, it is embarrassing. And you should not. I, as a man, get secondhand embarrassment when a girl decides to stay with a man like that.
Well, the thing is, you can't change a woman that's going to think that way. That's another story. We're talking about women that are dating guys with red flags and the kind of guys they choose to be with. You know, it's also the perception. They're not ever going to pick the guy that's going to treat a girl well. I mean, that will absolutely do whatever it takes to make a girl happy. That's not who they choose. But that's because they have to go through trial and error and realize, okay, well, eventually they're going to learn a lesson the hard way that they were with the wrong guy. But the thing is, for them, I don't feel embarrassed because of the fact that I hope that the woman, as long as she's not getting abused, as long as she's realizing that she has a support system around her to say, hey, you know, there's something about this guy. Look at how he acts around you. Like, that's one of those things, like during the holidays, you start realizing a guy that's with a girl and you start getting the chance to go and get to know the person. And, you know, the significant other of this girl, of this boyfriend that she's with, and you'll realize what he's all about. You know, it's like you go to the Thanksgiving dinner table or the Christmas dinner table and they bring him over. You'll realize that this guy's worth it a while or not. You know, the thing is just that women are going to have to learn that themselves. They do choose badly sometimes. Not all, but many. They can choose badly. And that's okay. So maybe they'll learn after that. But that's not even so much embarrassing what this guy was talking about. That's just demeaning. It's, I wouldn't even say humiliating because that's not even a good word. But it's callous because the guy is a scumbag if he's talking down. And the girl, for whatever reason, okay, this guy has no patience. He has a short trigger temper to get upset over, oh, you should wear this, wear that. He can't just say, nah, I don't like that. You can't just be as simple as that. Okay, if the guy's going to snap, there's something there. We don't know why. Or who knows if the girl even cares if that's how he kind of acts. But, you know, for this guy to take this one example and try to make it more like into this, it's not so much embarrassing. It's just women will pick guys with red flags. That's very much common. That can definitely happen. There are two other takes that came in here. The Guardian also talked about this here, where there was one lady that actually talked about the fact of that the relationship that she's in is also in a relationship that's embarrassing. She says that her husband, having a husband that's embarrassing, is probably worse. I'm used to being an embarrassment, a parent to two teenagers, but it's a blow as bad as skinny jeans being declared unacceptable. I hardly ever mention my spouse online, since he thinks social media is the opium of the intellectually feeble, but maybe I should erase him entirely, Trotsky style, from my Instagrid. So, you know, there's another part where this woman wants to go and make this point about that there could be things where there is such a thing as boyfriends or husbands that could be embarrassing. Absolutely. There's guys who could just be kind of quirky or goofy or whatever. The other story came out here was from Evie Magazine, another direction of this, saying having a boyfriend is not embarrassing, your need for clout is. Saying that misery's easiest power move is pretending the things your peers enjoy are actually beneath you. And for a lot of young women, that thing is love. They talk about the fact that the mindset and avoidant behavior that falls is rewarded by audiences who lament that the women they follow on social media for entertainment so predictably become watered down, beige versions of themselves once a boyfriend enters the picture. They're not willing to stick around to be proven wrong. But again, you're worrying about women that look at other women on social media. For the social media crowd, why are you caring about what they think? I mean, of course, you want the audience to go ahead and be placating to you, but you know what? Politics and love are very polarizing on social media. And the truth is, it's really a matter of how you position yourself on social media, that you really can't put that much of yourself out there. You got to play yourself as a role, as a character. As I've always thought about when I got on social media in the first place, it's a promotional tool. And you have to understand that not everyone's going to like who you are if you try to open yourself up. It's just not going to be that way. They're going to say there, public-facing women are mass unfollowed the moment they announce they are booed up, dismissed as cringy or embarrassing, even by other women in relationships. The unobscured boyfriend, then, is not just a relationship status marker. It's a signal of how male-centered a woman is. As someone report fearing the evil eye, the idea that posting their happy relationship online would spark jealousy so strong that the relationship could come to an end. Others say they don't want to be boastful in an area of widespread romantic discontentment. Others being more utilitarian in their concerns, worrying that the relationship could end and they could be stuck with a digital footprint littered with the evidence of their ex-boyfriend's imprint on their lives. So this point is, as I'm going with it, it's social media that's the whole problem with this. Make this clear. And the women are the ones that are being critical of other women. And that is the story that the article was entailing. If you didn't think it was, that's what it was. But I'm glad that the conversation continues. And we'll see if we keep going on with this on a forthcoming episode. You never know. But, you could only find out by trial and error. So don't worry about boyfriends being embarrassing. For some women that are not on the outside looking in at someone having a boyfriend, try it out for yourselves. But at least the one thing is, don't be so bitter. Maybe you could do something a little bit more for yourself to enjoy your time. There's something to be said about, you don't have to be in a relationship and be with a boyfriend. But the thing is, you want to find a little cure to, if you want to be modern independent, that maybe you want to have a little bit of time to go ahead and not be lonely. You need to get laid. Then maybe take some time to be a little depraved and debaucherous.